Hey guys, Max Artoon, welcome back to another tryout. Today's tryout is on Blinx the Time Sweeper. So this is a game that I only really know as like a kind of inside joke on a YouTube channel I watch. It gets brought up time to time as like, whoa, do you remember this? I don't. This isn't something I really knew about until I started hearing about it on this YouTube channel. And so this is, if you don't know, a 2002 original Xbox game from Artoon, who also worked on the previously covered Blue Dragon. Somehow this game was never on Games with Gold. I was convinced it was at some point, but no, it's just on Game Pass, so that's where I'm playing it, on Game Pass. On seeing the cutscenes when I first loaded up the game, I was very interested. It was like, this had a very particular style and vibe, and I'm like, this is something that should have been something, based on like the style and the weird like language that it uses, this sort of fictional language, and all the stuff that it's sort of doing in its like world building and aesthetics and stuff. Like, this is interesting as like an audiovisual thing. Why didn't this catch on? And then I started playing the game and I'm like, oh, this is strange and obtuse to play. That's probably why it didn't catch on. So I realized while editing, I didn't really explain the gameplay at all. So it's kind of like got these match 3 elements here that you can see in this tutorial here. And in addition to that, you hold down the button to bring up a prompt that lets you select from the effects that you have available to you. And there's rewind, fast forward, pause, record, and slow, and those all are really interesting mechanics. And then in addition to that, you pick up the trash with your vacuum, and that's your general attacking function. You use that to attack your enemies. And so you use these two mechanics to navigate gameplay overall and you accomplish the tasks that you're trying to do. And it's really interesting, if obtuse in the way that you control it, and also very unusual. I think my main issue playing it was that the camera controls are pretty outdated and not really that great. The biggest part is that you're kind of stuck with an entirely inverted control stick, as in like left turns the camera right, right turns the camera left. Up is down, down is up, and there's no settings to change that. There is a second control scheme, but it only seems to really change button layouts, though it does assign camera controls, or at least left and right camera controls, to the triggers on the controller, which is a little helpful because right trigger is right, left trigger is left, but it's not a perfect solution because you're forfeiting the ability to use the trigger in your attacks and using the vacuum thing that Blinx uses. It'd be so much better if you could more precisely change the controls, as is the case with like all games. There's a reason why most modern games have fully customizable control. Not all of them still. It's still a little bit of a problem, but like that's the biggest issue I had playing Blinx, really, is that the controls are a bit outdated. Additionally, as I like to mention, this game, I wasn't exactly motion sick, but something about the whole camera thing made me start to get a little bit motion sick as I was playing. Like, it wasn't like significant, but it was enough that I was like a bit, after playing for a little bit. And it's really just how the camera is in the environment. It's a bit too close to the character. There's issues with how it is set up in game, and that's just how the game is. And so if you have problems with that, you probably aren't going to be able to get through the game. Continuing with my list of negatives, Blinx is kind of slow moving. He's not a particularly fast character, which isn't terrible, but when you're repeating levels or you end up screwing up and have to backtrack through an area, because you're generally intended to try to complete the levels quickly. There's a timer, you get graded based on how quickly you finish a level, so you're kind of wanting to move quickly, and the fact that the character isn't particularly quick is a bit of an annoyance in that factor. And another thing that might be annoying is that the in-game presentation can be a lot. There's a lot of flashy effects and sounds, and the main ways you interact with the game is by affecting the flow of time. All of that can just be maybe a bit overstimulating, especially when like you take damage and there's just a whole sequence that has to play out that takes control from you. So some of that can be a bit of annoyance, but it's a very experimental game, which makes it really interesting. It's just not as precise as you kind of want it to be. Sometimes a hitbox on an enemy is like, that didn't look like it hit me from here, from this angle, but I guess, I don't know. I can't tell. The hitboxes are kind of unclear. So there's a wibbliness to it all that's like, but like, I think overall, it's a really interesting game. Its general gameplay concepts are really intriguing, and there's, you know, really something there to play, to dig into in terms of learning these concepts and learning how to run these levels quickly, and, you know, learning where the secrets are and how to get them and do all this stuff while finishing the level with a decent time. And that makes it really interesting. There's just some stuff that impedes really on doing that in a way that feels satisfying a bit, at least in this early game that I am at. The other major positive that I have is that with how the game is set up, there's a decent amount of replayability. It seems like there are things in early levels that you have to get later upgrades to come back and get, stuff like that. So there's, between that and the grading with your times, there's plenty of reasons to replay levels and learn them and do better in them and all that sort of thing, which lends to potentially getting more out of a game than just playing through all the levels and calling it quits, which can really help with a game feeling valuable. The amount of time you put into something like that can really help feel like, you know, it's worth something. And this feels like something that's really set up to be replayed and, you know, just enjoyed more than once. I think when it comes down to it, my verdict on this is probably a pass ? It's like, because the game is so obtuse and dated, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know. But the stuff about it that's so interesting and unique kind of is like, you can almost look past those issues and understand it as it was at the time, as like this interesting, unique Xbox exclusive title to pad out some of that catalog for the original Xbox, to give it some more diversity in its library. As that, it's like, okay, I see this, I understand this, and I think there's a way to even go look back on it and play it as in a modern perspective and still get something out of it. So that's where I come to like probably, you know, a pass ? That's really my 2 cents on Blinx, the Time Sleeper, based off of the hour or so I played. I played through the first 2, worlds, I guess. It's sets of 4 levels with a boss as the 4th level. I played the first couple of those, and I replayed some of the levels. So that's really all I had to say about it. So let's get to the end bits and get out of here. So if you got a description, there's a Beacon.ai link. Will take you to my places, Patreon, Bandcamp, Redbubble, etc. Click that link, go to those places, do what you do there. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. Subscribe if you want to keep up with this and other shows. I do a variety of things on the channel. Mostly this right now, but it's every week. So check back in a week, there'll be another one. Leave a comment. Have you played Blinx the Time Sweeper? Have you played its sequel? Let me know. What's your favorite original Xbox game? Share the video. Do the things. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.